Somewhere, deep within the pines, a trainer wanders. They have no idea what a fateful encounter awaits them. Happy Pokemon Day, and welcome back to the Enjey region. I thought I would release this special video on a special day, and while I have no idea what news the Pokemon company has unveiled today, I know I have something exciting for you. The mascot legendary Pokemon of the Enjey region. As you saw in the opening animation, the titles of the would-be Enjey games would be Pokemon As Above and Pokemon So Below. To learn more about why I named them that, we should start at the beginning. This is Limling, the reincarnation Pokemon. It's a pure fairy type. Limling may seem small and meek, but it has a good heart. You meet it quite early on your journey, no more than a few paces into the forest. You have a fateful encounter. You thought you saw a magnificent silhouette, but when the light fades, you see this tiny creature. Limling joins you on your adventures, eager to hitch a ride in your bag. Limling is inspired by albatross chicks. While an albatross isn't exactly something you see in New Jersey, the significance will become much more evident later in the line. Limling is also inspired by a phoenix, specifically a baby found to be rising from the ashes. In terms of niche, you can think of Limling as being similar to Cosmog. Instead of your rival caring for this mysterious friend, you'll be taking them instead. Limling's name comes from limbo and ling, a suffix often used for baby birds. However, the tiny shape of Limling is not what you thought you saw when that bright light flashed in the woods. In fact, depending on which game you would have been playing, you would have seen one of two shapes. Meet Lucifel, the fallen devil Pokemon. It's a fire fairy type and the mascot of Pokemon So Below. I'm sure it comes as no surprise that I made one of the legendaries the Jersey Devil, an infamous cryptid from New Jersey. Lucifel posed an interesting design challenge because the agreed-upon quote-unquote design for the Jersey Devil isn't my favorite. It's kind of awkward and hard to interpret the design into something that feels like a real mobile animal. The original design just feels so stiff. That's why I did something pretty unique with Lucifel. While it seems to have 4 legs and 2 wings, all 6 of its limbs are actually wings. When in flight, it uses all 6 limbs to fly, but at rest it stands on the ground similar to a stag or a horse. It takes clear inspiration from the idea of the Christian devil, and while I'm not a Christian myself, more of an undefined pagan really, it's no secret that the Puritans who colonized North America were. The story of the Jersey Devil is inextricably linked to the fears of the Christian population. While it may seem like a daunting, ferocious figure, however, it is not malicious. Lucifel represents prescribed burns, a practice to burn back brush in the forest to ensure growth and prevent full-fledged forest fires. While at a glance without context it seems to represent destruction and death, Lucifel in actuality represents life and rebirth. Its innate rage is born from a devotion to protect the land. It's a Pokemon whose story has much to do with being misunderstood. Its name is derived from Lucifer, Fel, and Fallen. While Lucifel is quite magical, it's possible it's not the Pokemon you saw that day. Perhaps instead, you saw another. Meet Sorir, the rising serif Pokemon. It's a grass fairy type. Just as Lucifel is inspired by the devil, Sorir takes inspiration from angels. Specifically, both Lucifel and Sorir are based on Seraphim, the highest ranking type of angel with 6 wings. That's why both of these Pokemon have 6 wings on their body. Its design is derived from several sources, including classical angel depictions, the Pokemon Reshiram of our neighboring Unova, marble statues, and sunbeams. While rarely seen, Sorir is considered a good omen. Those who see it are said to be met with many blessings. Just as Lucifel was demonized, I think Sorir is often idolized. Despite popular belief, Sorir has little interest in protecting humans specifically. Sorir's charge is with the land of Enjey as a whole. While often thought of as a gentle, benevolent spirit, its incredible power makes it a formidable foe. Like with Lucifel, I did my best to incorporate some Christian ideas into Sorir, although not as heavily as with Lucifel. I tried to make a design that is both otherworldly and beautiful. Sorir takes inspiration from other spiritual concepts, such as spirits of the land. Specifically, I imagine Sorir to be the spirit of the Pine Barrens. Its concept is less tied to Christianity and is more mixed. Sorir's name comes from Sor, seraphim, and fir, as in the tree. As a trio, this family is quite interesting. In the beginning of your journey, you actually see the opposite Pokémon of the box legendary you chose. In Pokémon As Above, you see the silhouette of Lucifel. And in Pokemon So Below, you see Sorir. This is because of the unique life cycle of Limling. Limling, much like Cosmog, can evolve into either Sorir or Lucifel. However, unlike Cosmog, whose evolution is permanent, Limling may revert back to its base form when it would otherwise die. When it evolves, it alternates between the two forms of Sorir and Lucifel. Therefore, at the climax of the game, when Limling evolves in front of your eyes, it will take the opposite form of the one you saw at the start of the game. The game titles As Above and So Below are naturally derived from the phrase As Above, So Below. I know, shocker. It's actually only half of a phrase. The full version says, As above, so below, as below, so above. The phrase states that what happens above in the metaphysical realm mirrors or matches what happens below in the mundane material world. Sometimes I've also seen this phrase used to describe the duality of heaven, hell, and the earth in between. As above, so below also describes the relationship between a microcosm and a macrocosm, that a situation on the small scale reflects one on a large scale, and vice versa. Similarly, it's a phrase about seemingly opposite ideas actually being one and the same. This cleanly mirrors the relationship between Sorir and Lucifel. While they may seem like complete opposites or even enemies of each other, they are actually the same creature. Sorir and Lucifel also take on a somewhat literal interpretation of the phrase, Lucifel as the land-bound fallen angel, and Sorir as the typical flying serif. The family as a whole takes on several inspirations. The first of these, as mentioned earlier, is a phoenix. Few creatures represent rebirth and flame as quintessentially as phoenixes do. With the Pine Barrens' burns and theme of falling and rising, it was easy to pin a phoenix as perfect inspiration. In fact, I almost made a pseudo-legendary line based on the phoenix, but opted to use that inspiration for these guys instead. The second inspiration is the albatross. The helmet-like designs seen on Sorir and Lucifel aren't just meant to look like regal armor or skulls, but resemble the eyeliner sort of pattern that adult albatrosses have. The whole line mirrors how baby albatrosses begin life as awkward but adorable Muppet-looking creatures, and then become huge, graceful adults. As the largest seabirds, I also felt they were quite appropriate legendaries to represent New Jersey, known for its quote-unquote Jersey Shore. Of course, they also represent the idea of the albatross as a metaphor. As a metaphor, the albatross represents a sense of guilt that burdens someone like a curse. The origin of this metaphor comes from the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In this story, the eponymous mariner recounts an adventure at sea where an albatross came to visit his ship. It would return over and over to play or take food, and while it was ultimately just an animal with no ill intent, he shot it. It reads almost as an act of treachery to betray the allyship or even friendship between the crew and the bird. Once the albatross dies, there is no more wind to guide the ship, no more whimsy brought on by its playful nature. To repent for his sin, the mariner wears the dead albatross around his neck. I won't summarize the entire poem here, as there's a decent amount that happens in it, but themes of betrayal, sin, redemption, and the relationship between man and nature are all inspirations and elements I wanted to incorporate into Limling's family. While humanity at large may have betrayed nature, there is no escaping nature. By carrying Limling with them, the main character of our story carries the albatross and finds healing and redemption for the past, and growth and hope for the future. Ultimately, the relationship between humanity and nature is generational and recursive. Humanity is nature, so to betray nature is to betray ourselves, and only lead to our own suffering. The relationship between humanity and nature is something that must be nurtured with each generation. Grappling with the weight of responsibility not only for yourself but for your environment is something I wanted to represent through this coming of age in the story. Pokémon is, ultimately, a story about humanity and nature living not at odds, but in harmony. After all, humanity is a part of nature, and will continue to thrive while actively participating in it instead of antagonizing it. As someone who grew up with constant doomerism about climate change and other environmental disasters, I felt the crushing weight of my generation's future from a young age. That feeling of anxiety from the dread, yet the pride for feeling that my generation would help make change for the better, That duality is something I wanted to embody in this story. My relationship with the environment at large has much to do with my own local ecosystem. The bay, the shore, the Pine Barrens. These places are my home, and they're a part of me as much as I'm a part of them. I want the Enjey Project to give others of my generation hope. The world isn't ending. No matter what humanity does, the Earth will continue on. Pessimism only breeds inaction. It is our hope and optimism that will drive us to create a better future. After this video, why not go out on a walk? You don't have to live somewhere traditionally natural. Remember that all that exists is inherently nature, and all that exists is inherently magical. Pokémon teaches us that too. Greet pigeons on the street, admire weeds growing from the sidewalk, listen to the bugs or the birds in the trees. Let yourself remember that even a place this small, this minor in the grand scale of the planet, is worth protecting. My hope is to share my reverence for my local ecosystem and encourage you to seek that same feeling for yours. Maybe I got slightly off topic from Pokemon for a minute there. However, I'm not gonna apologize. The themes of environmentalism, optimism, and love are critical to my Enjey project. I think there is no fitting episode to discuss those themes than this, with the Pokemon that embody the righteous beauty of nature in all its elegance, power, and awkwardness. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'm very happy to finally be sharing the Limling family with everybody. I've been working on them pretty much since the very start of this project, so it's very exciting to, after all these years, get to show them to the public. So let me know which one of them is your favorite. It's basically impossible for me to choose, so I just want to hear what you guys like, and tell me which version of the game you would pick. Would you pick Pokemon As Above or Pokemon So Below? If you would like to support me, I recommend checking out my Ko-fi page. This is the best way you can support me. You can give me tips, you can support me monthly, you can commission me, you can get things on my shop such as adoptables or zines. Honestly, there's a lot of cool stuff on there. I highly recommend following, even just for my blog updates. They're basically like my mailing list. So you'll get to hear about my work in progress on the next Enjey episode. Our next Enjey episode, by the way, will be about the early root Pokemon of the Enjey region, and I'm really excited to talk about those designs. So I'll see you again at the end of next month with those. And next week, I'll see you back with a regular speed paint video. I really, really do hope you enjoy the rest of this Pokemon day, and in the meantime, why don't you go out there and make some art?